Now, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get straight into the NFL segment as we do have a lot of news. And I did get a notification per Bleacher Report about a big trade alert. But before I get into that, I'm going to go ahead and quickly announce after 13 seasons this past week, Jason Kelly officially announced his retirement from the NFL. And I want to say congratulations and hats off for a well-rounded career with getting that Super Bowl ring, being this under center for the Philadelphia Eagles for your entire career. So hats off and best wishes in retirement for you, Mr. Jason Kelsey. And before I move into some free agency related news, the thing that I got a trade alert for is that the Browns are trading for Broncos wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, as the Broncos have received the Broncos have agreed to receive a 2024 fifth round and sixth round pick for the wide receiver. Notice that a lot of these receivers, even if they're at least halfway decent or maybe seemingly good, they get traded for late round picks. So that was interesting in its own right. So I really hope that he gets used right in that. Now that there's another receiver besides Amari Cooper and anyone else that I can't think of in Cleveland, best wishes in Cleveland being a part of the Browns for you, Mr. Jerry Jeudy. And speaking of free agency, and speaking of that, we have a lot of free agency related news. And the Buffalo Bills made moves, many money moves to clear $35 million in cap room, which began with the releases of Mr. Jordan Poyer and Tre'Davious White and Mitch Morse, as with releasing Tre'Davious White, which was first reported by ESPN's Adam Schefter. Two-time Pro Bowl cornerback Tre'Davious White was released as being designated as a post-June 1st cut. Will save the Bills $10.2 million in cap space and with $6.2 million in dead money. His contract will remain on Buffalo. His contract will remain on Buffalo's books until then, but he's free to sign with a new team as early as next week. So, best wishes to wherever Tre'Davious White goes as a corner, because corners are a big necessity in the game of the NFL nowadays. He may stay in the AFC East, stay in the AFC, or even go to the NFC. Jordan Poyer as well, the star safety of the Bills. His time has come to an end as the Buffalo Bills public relations made an official announcement on Wednesday that the team has moved forward by releasing the safety. And cutting him will be interesting. As I was going somewhere, I forgot. But anyways, besides Jordan Poyer being released, his release that creates $5.7 million in cap space, marking something of an end of a safety era for the Bills, as Micah Hyde is also a free agent. Not only that, they released. They're planning to move Connor McGovern. The Bills are planning to move forward with Connor McGovern as their center this season, and they are releasing their former center, Mitch Morse, who is set to make $8.5 million in salary this season. They've also released him, which will give them a couple more in their cap space, as well as releasing guys such as releasing defensive back Surian Nell and planning to release receiver and return specialist Deontay Harty. Because they are trying to get under that cap, that necessary cap to be able to make some more money than the salary cap. And two things did come out from this in terms of contract moves, as the Buffalo Bills cutting ties with longtime safety Jordan Poyer on Wednesday is a cost-cutting move, but they are planning to keep Taylor Rapp around for quite some time, as after Jordan Poyer's release, the Bills have agreed to a 3-year deal worth up to $14.5 million to keep Taylor Rappaport with the Bills, as he has served a backup role behind Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde in the 2023 season, but also registering 50 tackles, an interception, 2 passes defended, and a fumble recovery across 16 games and 4 starts. So it'll be interesting to see how Taylor Rapp will play as basically becoming the new starting safety for the Bills. And speaking of that, involving contracts, Von Miller is getting in the action as he has made the agreement as the veteran, has made the agreement to restructure his contract with the Bills, as the two sides agreed to a deal with the base value of $8.855 million for the 2024 campaign. And the move with Miller comes after the announcement of all these releases. And with doing this restructuring contract, it will save them about $8 million in cap space. Well, over $8 million in cap space. But, yeah. I feel like I need to just be prepared more. It's bothering me. I'm sorry. It's bothering me that I don't feel prepared enough to talk about some of this stuff because I'm looking at reports instead of typing this out and talking about it. And speaking of, I keep trying to set up a speaking of, and it's never working. Moving on to the offensive side of things, running back Saquon Barkley has not received a second straight franchise tag from the Giants. He's exiting New York and heading to free agency. So, the question remains, where is he going to go? One report says that the general manager of the Eagles could, quote, take a swing at the running back in free agency. One side note to him leaving New York is that last season, the New York football Giants placed the franchise tag on their veteran star running back. But then they had the opportunity to do it again or pay him like he should be paid. But they went with neither. They didn't want to pay him, I don't think. And they don't want to put the franchise tag on their star running back for a second straight season, which would be pretty stupid, in my opinion. So they just let him walk. Now, some teams that are in the current conversation include the Texans, who were originally the head-on favorites, the Eagles, who are slowly becoming the favorites for destination where I become, the Dallas Cowboys, which I highly doubt he'll go to Dallas, the Cincinnati Bengals, as Joe Mixon will be potentially entering free agency and leaving the Bengals, the Patriots, who desperately need a running back, and even re-signing with the Giants with an actual contract that he deserves. And talking about the Eagles general manager, there was reportedly some belief within the NFL that the Philadelphia Eagles could pursue the star running back in free agency, as according to Ralph Falciano of Fox Sports, sources indicated that the Eagles might take a swing at the former New York Giants running back, and he added that the Eagles aren't expected to, quote, go crazy with their offer for Barkley. They could be an option for him if he doesn't get the types of contract offers he's expecting. The New York Post Ryan Dunleavy added Barkley and Eagles had mutual interest ahead of free agency. Even though Barkley is coming off 2 consecutive productive seasons, the Giants opted against placing a franchise tag on him, thus making him a free agent. Originally selected number 2 overall in the 2018 draft out of Penn State, Barkley burst onto the scene as a rookie, racking up over 2,000 yards from scrimmage and 15 touchdowns en route to being named NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's been named a Pro Bowl. He's had a lot of great seasons, and besides his number suffering in New York and surprisingly making the postseason, 2022, his numbers have suffered as a result of missing the playoffs this year. Even though he managed to score 10 touchdowns and rush for under almost 1,000 yards despite missing 3 games. The Philadelphia offense has been a dream for running backs in recent years, and there's little doubt that Barkley could put up huge numbers behind the Eagles' top flight offensive line. In 2022, Miles Sanders rushed for 1,269 yards to the Eagles and earned himself a nice free agent payday from the Carolina Panthers. Last season, DeAndre Swift stepped in and led the team with just a little over 1,000 yards with 1,049. However, DeAndre Swift is also a free agent, and Vaciano noted that the Eagles would ideally like to bring him back for the right price. Running backs simply don't land huge contracts in free agency anymore, but given that Barkley is still just 27 years of age and may have some untapped potential into unlocking a better offense, it figures to be the most highly sought-after running back on the market. That could result in the Eagles getting priced out, but the thought of an Eagles offense headlined by Barkley, Jalen Hurts, wide receivers A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and tight end Dallas Goedert could be tough for general manager Howie Roseman to turn down if the opportunity presents itself. We're going to go ahead and move into another segment in the free agency-related news as make way for cap space and head to free agency. Players included are Dolphins defensive end Christian Wilkins, who will not be receiving a $22.1 million contract, $22.1 million franchise tag from the Miami Dolphins, and will be a free agent heading into the free agency. The Seahawks have released safety duo Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs, as well as tight end Will Disley to save them $30 million in cap space. One question we have, as for now, is could we see Michael Thomas be leaving the Saints? And we say that in the wake of there have been reports and rumors that Michael Thomas is expected to be released by the New Orleans Saints within the coming days or weeks. The Broncos are also getting involved in this as they are set to release Russell Wilson on March 13th, giving them $85 million in dead cap money, which is an absolute heart-wrenching thing to hear for the team. It's not good to see or hear because they're going to have Russell. Basically means they're going to have him on the books until I think 2025. So it's going to be interesting. And on the other side of the ball, they have released Justin Simmons, their star safety, to create $14.5 million in cap space in the wake of that release of Russell Wilson. Now, besides that, some tight ends and wide receivers are getting a payday and making themselves some money as well. Not getting released, but making them some dough, making them some money. The likes of which include Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Dalton Schultz, and even Mike Evans. 3 of these players are returned to their former teams, but one is heading out to farther down south to make some money after being released. Hunter Henry is going to be staying with the Patriots, staying put on a 3-year, $30 million contract as they have finalized it for the veteran tight end to return to New England in 2024. As per NFL Network's Mike Garofalo and Ian Rappaport, the sides have agreed to terms on a 3-year deal with a max value of $30 million. New England handed out a total of $137.5 million guarantee that offseason after having missed the playoffs for the first time since 2008. While the Pats won 10 games and returned to the postseason, the franchise's spending spree ultimately laid bare Bill Belichick's fallings on the personnel side. Henry wasn't the worst signing Bill Belichick made all season, and he proved to be a solid pass catcher in an inconsistent offense, but the legendary coach clearly misvalued this 2016 second-round pick. In his 48 games so far with the Patriots, he's had 133 receptions for over 1,500 yards and 17 touchdowns. His 31.9 yards per game were well below the 42.4 he had averaged in 5 years with the Chargers. It's worth considering how much their offensive issues hindered his production, as the unit was a mess in 2022 with Joe Judge and Matt Patricia effectively sharing duties as an offensive coordinator, and things didn't get much better when Bill O'Brien joined in 2023. When Henry had the benefit of Josh McDaniels and a Pro Bowl round-bound Mac Jones in 2021, he caught 50 passes for 603 yards and 9 touchdowns. In December, Pro Football Focus's Brad Spielberger had the 29-year-old as the second-best tight end on the free agency board behind Dalton Schultz. And he wrote, Henry has served as one of the few consistent and reliable targets for New England Patriots passing attack that has gone through lengthy drought since his arrival as a free agent in 2021. And based on his rank, the top two potential free agent tight ends are off the board, as Schultz, who we'll talk about in a minute, agreed to a 3-year, $36 million deal to remain with the Texans earlier this week. And at this point, in his career, there's a little chance that Henry taps into any unearned potential, but he should be a good secondary option in New England's passing game. Though it remains to be seen who's going to be throwing passes for the Patriots next season, as Mac Jones is potentially getting traded, and the Patriots are looking to use their early first round pick to select the quarterback, maybe Jaden Daniels. Speaking of Dalton Schultz is being locked down with the Texans as they have agreed to that 3-year deal where he has agreed to re-sign with the Texans on this 3-year, $36 million contract that includes $23.5 million guaranteed, according to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. Schultz, is at the age of 27, has already played 6 NFL seasons. He spent his first 5 years with the Cowboys before signing a 1-year deal for $6.2 million with the Texans. He played an integral role for the Texans team that went from 13-1 to 10-7 in AFC South champions, catching 59 passes for 635 yards and 5 touchdowns in 15 games. And it remains to be seen that could we continue to see the Texans on the rise and keep going? Now, that's really the only thing that remains for that, because at this point for the Texans, the only place to go is up. The only way they can keep going is up. And speaking of down south, like I mentioned earlier, Jonnu Smith, who was released by the Atlanta Falcons last month, has come to an agreement with the Miami Dolphins on Thursday for a 2-year contract worth up to $10 million. As a 28-year-old is a 7-year NFL veteran who's played for the Titans, Patriots, and Falcons during his career. And he is, after largely being utilized as a role player in his first 2 seasons, Smith had a breakout season in 2019 with 35 receptions, 439 yards, 3 touchdowns with 78 rushing yards. And in Atlanta, he was reunited with head coach Arthur Smith, who was his tight end coach with the Titans from 2017 to 18 and offensive coordinator 2019 and 20. He was widely expected to merely be a backup to starting tight end Kyle Pitts in Atlanta, and still managed to produce some of the best numbers of his career with career highs of 50 catches and 582 yards, but only 3 touchdowns. And in the wake of the firing of Arthur Smith, the Falcons cut Jonnu Smith to save money against the salary cap, and since he was released, he became eligible to sign with another team before the official start of free agency. And with this being said, after Smith is joining a Dolphins team that has not heavily utilized the tight end position in 2 seasons under their head coach of Mike McDaniels, and with Durham Smith setting return in 2024, he seems likely to essentially split his time with the oncoming Jonnu Smith. And it would be interesting to see how this works, because when it comes to the passing game, it is a wide receiver focused room with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek, who have both gone over 4,000 yards in back-to-back seasons, which I'll be waiting to see how this plays out. And in terms of making money, the final player, speaking of wide receivers, Mike Evans has agreed to a 2-year, $52 million contract to stay with Tampa, which is great to see as they get to lock down they're basically a star receiver. We'll have to wait and find out to see who will be throwing his passes and touchdowns to him the upcoming season, as they are trying to work on a deal to bring back Baker Mayfield. There are a couple players who are getting locked down on the defensive side, as 4 players are being locked down for their respective teams, as quarterback Jalen Johnson is remaining in Chicago on a new 4-year deal after the franchise tag, which the contract is worth, which the supposed franchise cornerstone for the Bears has agreed to a deal that is worth $76 million across 4 years. So it'll be interesting to see how well the Bears can build around like Jalen Johnson and see how well this Chicago Bears defense can hopefully improve. Tyrann Mathieu, the veteran safety and also Pro Bowl, the former Pro Bowler and safety of the New Orleans Saints, has agreed to stay in New Orleans on Thursday, as he has signed a 2-year deal worth $13 million, according to CBS Sports' Josina Anderson. And Mathieu was already under contract through the 2024 season, as he signed a 3-year deal in 2022, but now he will be with the Saints for an additional year through the 2025 season. Mathieu, who has been with the Saints since 2022, recorded 75 tackles, 4 picks, and 9 pass deflections last season. And it'll be interesting to see how they'll build onto this defense with him and Cam Jordan at the helm. Antoine Winfield, the safety of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, will be staying with the Bucs, as he'll be receiving a $17 million franchise tag ahead of eventual free agency. And instead of giving him a seemingly giant contract as a 4-year starter at safety, they have just simply placed that franchise tag on the All-Pro safety on Tuesday. And it's kind of interesting, as Winfield has been a 4-year starter at safety since the Bucs selected him with the number 45th pick overall in the 2020 draft out of Minnesota. His first season ended with a Super Bowl victory, in part due to his efforts, as well as doing this to Tyreek Hill. Another thing to mention before we move on to post-combine news and discussion is that Brian Burns, of the defensive end, Brian Burns got tagged in Carolina for $24 million, as he'll be staying with the Panthers for a $24 million franchise tag. And speaking of post-combine news and discussion, before we get into some little question that we can kind of consider, is that Texas wide receiver Xavier Worthy set and officially broke and created a new record for the NFL Combine with a 4.21 40-yard time, which is absolutely awesome to see. Now, when it comes to something that we can consider as what are the ideal teams for 2024's NFL Combine stars? Some of the likes include Braden Fisk, defensive tackle of Florida State. Some include the 49ers, the Browns, and the Bengals. For Penn State's tight end Theo Johnson, ideal landing spots include the Eagles, Dolphins, and Giants. For cornerback Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo, despite kind of hurting himself in his during the combine, some ideal landing spots include the Denver Broncos, Indianapolis Colts, and Jacksonville Jaguars. Also out of Penn State is edge rusher Chad Robinson, which ideal landing spots include the Tampa Bay Bucks, Jaguars, and Los Angeles Rams. Wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. They include the Bengals, Chiefs, and Bills. And North Carolina State linebacker Peyton Wilson. Last time I checked, one of them is the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, one of them being the Dallas Cowboys, Seattle Seahawks, and the Green Bay Packers. For the Texas wide receiver we mentioned, which is Xavier Worthy. Some of these landing spots include world champ Chiefs, the sucky Carolina Panthers, and the sucky Arizona Cardinals. Finally, Tennessee running back Jalen Wright. For him, it includes the LA Chargers, Green Bay Packers, and the New York Giants. And we're going to go ahead and move on to our final portion of the NFL segment, as could we see an 18-game season in the near future? It's possible, as the NFL plans to push for an 18-game regular season during the next CBA negotiations, as the expansion to a 17 regular season game was controversial given the potential impact on player safety, but the league isn't likely to stop there. As according to Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, the push to 18 regular season games hasn't been abandoned, and health and safety concerns be darned. Browns general manager Andrew Berry said during Tuesday's PFT Live that NFL teams were trying to push back the trade deadline by 2 weeks, with one week being added due to the expanded 17-week schedule and the other in anticipation of an 18th regular season game eventually being added. This year alone, quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins, and Deshaun Watson, and Anthony Richardson, among others, all missed significant time. The NFL might want the profits that come from more regular season games, but how compelling are those extra contests? Backup quarterbacks like Zach Wilson, Jake Browning, Easton Stick, and so on are the ones primarily playing them. Now it'll be interesting to see if they continue to lead to this. As one question that can remain is, will NFL coaches eventually do the math, decide that giving superstar players like Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson edge your game off halfway through an extended regular season is worth keeping them healthy for the playoffs, and create the NBA's version of the load management controversy? I swear, at this point, everything that's talked about, everything that happens, and anything and everything that involves sports is just so controversial at this point.